Hello, my name is Jim Escott. I'm with the Knights of Columbus. I'm the Michigan State Training Director, and I'm here today to talk to membership directors about the role as a membership director. Whether you're a new membership director or just about to become one, or you've been a membership director for years, hopefully you'll find some information that will help you to be more effective in your role by watching this video. A couple of things I'd like to point out is, first of all, I want to thank you for volunteering. I think you're going to find that there is going to be a lot of work here, but I think it's going to be very rewarding. Your parishes and your communities are going to benefit from your role in helping these people to become members of the Knights of Columbus. And as you bring in new members, those people are going to become better fathers, better husbands, better Christians than they were before by participating in the Knights and doing all the things the Knights do. So you're really helping the church and God's children to be closer to Him and to develop a better relationship. You will help to grow the order, and more importantly, you'll help to grow the church. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to give you an overview, talk about recruiting and admissions. Those are really two separate things that both fall under your responsibility. A little bit about online membership, and then some resources to tell you where you can go to get some additional information and help if you need it. So let's get started. For the overview, I'm going to talk about your roles and responsibilities, some rate methods. You can read the screen here, what the basic steps are for recruiting, how to get volunteers, relationships to programs and awards are also important. So roles and responsibilities, as I said, the membership director really is in charge of recruiting and is also in charge of admissions to get people into the Knights of Columbus. So your job is to overall do the planning, supervising, and executing. Now, you don't actually have to do all the work, and that's very key because I think some membership directors get burnt out or feel all alone out there because they're the only ones doing recruiting and they're the only ones bringing in new members. And if that's the case for you, call out to your Grand Knight, call out to your council, and get some help because you're not supposed to have to do that all by yourself. So why do we recruit? Lots of different ways. One is for our order. We're trying to sustain and grow the Knights of Columbus. I think we've got a great image out there in the world, and a lot of people see the good things that we do. And if we don't keep the Knights of Columbus going and adding new members and growing as an order, we're going to quickly fall out of favor and no longer be a strength for our church. Second of all is church. We do things, and the things the Knights of Columbus do strengthen our parishes. And as you bring in more members and they become involved in the Knights, therefore they become more engaged in their churches and parishes, we're strengthening those parishes. So that's very important. 3 is in the community. We help provide charity where needed within the community, and we help poor people, and we help the homeless, and we help those who are hungry and needy. And the Knights of Columbus does all of those charitable activities, so we're helping your community. And I already pointed out your members are better Catholics than husbands and fathers and sons because being a member of the Knights gives them more opportunities to do charitable works, gives them more opportunities to pray, gives them ideas on how to pray more and do more family activities with their families to strengthen their families. And we do all of those wonderful things. And then last but not least is our motto here of Vivat Jesus. We try to live Jesus through our actions and show the world that Jesus does live through the things that we do. Now, let's talk about the life cycle of a member. And this is kind of a general member is at some point you are going to recruit a new member and you're considering joining. Then you go through the admission process and you go through your admissions degree, or really now your charity, unity, and fraternity exemplification, and you become a member. And once you're a member, then you go through what I call the active years, where you do a lot of programs, you're engaged with your council, become a pretty active Knight, and that's where hopefully you spend most of the years as you're in the life cycle here. And then eventually you become an inactive member and you have inactive years, and that's either through losing interest or just becoming old and you can't really participate anymore. And then in the end, you eventually quit. Hopefully you don't, but that's one way to end. And the other is through suspensions and or withdrawals. So those are the sorts of things here. And the first two that I have in green are membership team and membership director focus. And the last three are the retention team and retention and director focus. So just wanted you to kind of keep that in mind as we go through this. It all flows together. So how do you recruit? It's different for each person, but basically here's some things that are very common for everybody across the page. First of all, show enthusiasm. This really is a great organization. And when you talk to others about the Knights of Columbus, make sure that that comes out in the way you present things. You're proud of being a Knight. The Knights of Columbus has helped you in your roles and helped you become a better father and a better Christian. And I think sharing that and all the great things we do and the money that we raise and the people that we help really that enthusiasm rubs off on others and makes them more willing to join. Be natural, be yourself, and be sincere. It's one thing to watch someone else and how they recruit, but then if you try to do it exactly the same way they do, and it doesn't fit your personality, it doesn't come off as sincere, and therefore it's a problem. So find your own way to be yourself and be natural, and it'll come across just fine. Just ask people. I know sometimes we become afraid to ask people because we're afraid of the reaction that we're going to get, and we're afraid of rejection. But I do think they're waiting out there to be invited. And if they're not invited, they will think, "Gosh, they don't want us, or they don't think that I'm worthy to be a Knight." And so it really never hurts to ask. You don't want to be overbearing. But find the right time and the right opportunity and just ask people and ask, one a week or two a week, because you're going to interact with people and it should be a natural thing to do. Be prepared. Have prospect cards with you so you can fill out information. Have the Knights of Columbus app on your phone so you can pull that up and maybe sign people up online right there on the spot when they're interested. Build a council landing page and have new member and church drive kits available to help you in your roles. So there's ways to get those online. If you don't know how, talk to your Grey Knight and or district deputy, and they'll help you get those kits ordered and in. Be approachable. Invite people to talk to you. And as we go through the Delta Drive process, I'll go into that in a little more detail. But be welcoming to people, look them in the eye, invite them to come talk to you, and strike up a conversation and get things going. And then it gets easier from there. Advertise. Wear your Knights of Columbus shirt, pins, coats, and hats. And it's not just you, but all the members of your council should be doing that. And I can't count the number of times that I had on I have a Knights of Columbus coat. And in the wintertime, when I go into work and I get on the elevator to go up and someone else gets on the elevator with me, they say, "Oh, I see you're a member of the Knights of Columbus. What council do you belong to?" And it starts the conversation and gets things going. And then you can, now that you're approachable and you're in a conversation, it's easier to start asking, "Well, have you ever thought of being a Knight?" And be willing to help you if you need to. Be persistent, but don't be an egg. So if you ask somebody and they tell you no, keep a list, keep your a notebook with these people's names and maybe phone numbers and email addresses, and I don't know if it's once a year or maybe once every 6 months, but get back with these people over time and say, "Hey, I know I talked to you 6 months ago. You weren't quite ready to become a Knight, but I thought maybe things have changed and we'd still love to have you. Would you consider being a Knight now?" And again, don't be an egg about it. But I think I know a lot of people that say, "I had Joe ask me 5 times and finally I decided, what the heck, I'll just become a Knight." And was the best decision they ever made. And they've become very active Knights and very happy and healthy and those other sorts of things. So just because you ask somebody once and they said no doesn't mean they're going to say no again. Keep tabs on them and ask them 2 or 3 times a year. And then tell your story. And again, this is part of being yourself and being natural. Explain why you joined and why you're still active and what the Knights of Columbus has done for you and why you have found happiness and joy in what you're doing here. And that really comes across to other people as genuine and might strike a chord for them to join. So these are all some ideas for you and your membership team to all kind of keep in mind, because you're not the only one doing recruiting, but these are good things for everybody. So where do you recruit? Basically, it's just about anywhere. The easiest one to think about is your churches. That's where practical men hang out. They go to church on Sunday, maybe Saturday night. Great place to find people who are practical Catholics. But your friends and family are also good, and that's an even, I think, higher probability for everybody you ask, because they know you personally. And if you talk to your friends and you talk to your family and your Uncle Joe or your nephew or your brother and say, hey, I joined the Knights of Columbus and it's really a great organization. We're having a lot of fun. And if you would join and come with me, maybe you could help me at the next pancake breakfast, flipping pancakes. And we can go on the annual Knights of Columbus golf outing together. And maybe you and I can stand on a street corner and collect money for the mentally impaired and the intellectually disabled Tootsie Roll drive that we have. So, it's easy to do. And I think if they know they're not joining something on their own, but they're going to spend some more time with you, that might talk them into it. Council events, it's always good to have non-members come to council events to do different things and all your programs. Basically, anybody in your parish or community should be welcome to help you raise money for the poor and do those sorts of things. And as these men come and see, wow, this is a great event and good things are happening and you're raising money for a good cause, they're already excited about the nights. It's a great time to say, hey, if you came, why don't you think of joining and you can help us out next time. We'd love to have you part of our organization. So it's a great recruiting place. Schools, both high schools and colleges want to volunteer. Whether you're a religious related school or just a public school, all those places ask people and want people to volunteer some of their time to help their communities. So colleges and high schools are all looking for those sorts of things. And that's what the Knights of Columbus does, is we have opportunities for people to get involved in charitable activities. So invite them to participate, invite them to come, get them to a couple activities. And then once they are coming and engaged and doing good things and having fun, then you can say, well, you know what, if this is really great for you, why don't you consider joining the Knights of Columbus? But maybe get them in first, just get them to participate in a couple activities with you and volunteer to help out. It helps them with their college needs and high school needs. And then once they're hooked, you can get them to join at that time. Communities want to volunteer. And so see what's going on in your communities and advertise at community events and those sorts of things. And then again, wear your pin, have it on your coat or shirt, and it's a great conversation starter. So at work, if you are advertising, even though it's subtle with your pin, people can see that. It'll start off a conversation, and then you're not the one bringing it up, but they are. And then once the conversation starts, it's a lot easier to say, hey, we'd love to have you if you'd be interested, and let me hook you up and get you to join. Now, recruitment versus admissions. I did say these are both the responsibility of the membership director, but they are kind of two different things. And I want to draw a football analogy here, where recruitment is really finding someone to get them interested in becoming a Knight. And on a football team perspective, it's like getting the ball and being on offense. Once you've got the ball and you're on offense, that's a good place to start. And then admissions is making that member become active and joining the Knights of Columbus and actually getting them through their exemplification. And then that's more along the line of, now that you're on offense, crossing the goal line and scoring the points, or kicking the field goal and scoring points. So that's what the difference is there. So under this, you want to educate people so that they know what the Knights of Columbus are, who we are, and what we do. You'll be covering the requirements that they have to be a male. They have to be at least 17 and a half years old. It's not 18, it's 17 and a half. And what, the definition of a practical Catholic is, which basically means you are a Catholic. You do believe in the overall principles of the Catholic religion, and that you put your Catholic religion into practice. Doesn't necessarily have to be every day or every week, but they have to be, a practical Catholic. Gives you a chance to find out what their interests are, what they want to do if they become a knight. The exemplification gets him in and through the charity, unity, and fraternity exemplification, so they actually formally become a knight. Introduce them to your council at the first couple of meetings to try to make them feel comfortable and wanted and that, and then get them involved in the first couple of activities so that they learn how to become active and can hopefully stand on their own from there. So those are all parts of the puzzle. So the timing, how does this work? Timing is very important, because if you talk to somebody and get them excited about the Knights of Columbus, and then things drag on for 3 or 4 months, that excitement can be lost really quickly. So for non-online members, and I want to just talk about that way, there's really, we either do a major recruiting drive, like a church drive or a tilt drive, or you're just seeing people one-on-one. But either way, you identify who the prospects are. Talk to people. All of a sudden somebody says, yeah, I might be interested. Okay, so you get those people, you educate them and vet them, hopefully within a couple of days. Through the major recruiting drives, you'll do it, right there or at a follow-up meeting. Here's who we are. Here's what the Knights of Columbus are. You find out a little bit about them and make sure that they would make reasonably good knights. Then you invite them to an exemplification. Hopefully you can do that within a few days as well to get them in. Because again, if it's I can't do it for another 4 weeks, or I can do it in 3 weeks, but you're not available then. Well, the next one's 3 months from now. You're probably not going to get them. So you want to try to get them through that quickly. And then you get them to a council meeting. Hopefully you can do that within a couple of weeks after they're exemplified, and hold their hand a few meetings and get them involved in some activities, make them feel at home. And then once they're comfortable and on their own, they can kind of run themselves from there. So this is the process, and it really shouldn't take that long. Now, online members, some of these steps are a little bit different. If you can identify a prospect, and he's very interested in the Knights, excuse me, maybe you just sign them up right there, and you pull out your cell phone and you pull up the Knights of Columbus app, and they join the Knights of Columbus as an online member, not a member of your council, but they agree to pay their $30, and poof, they're a knight, and it's done almost immediately. And then once they do that, you say, well, you know what? Why don't you come to either our council meeting, which is 2 weeks from Tuesday, or we got this council activity coming up next weekend where we're going to be collecting money for the intellectually impaired, or whatever the other activity is that you're doing. Have them come to one or the other or both, and get them engaged and get them involved. And you get a chance to know them through their activities in coming, or they come to your meeting and they get a chance to see what the Knights of Columbus is all about. And then after a couple meetings or a couple activities, during that time you'll get a chance to vet them, and they'll get a chance to be educated on what the Knights of Columbus do. And then you just ask them, hey, as long as you're already a knight and you're coming and you see what we're doing, why don't you join our council, and we'll get you through this charity, unity, and fraternity exemplification, and you'll be a member of our council. that works out pretty well. So just kind of do that kind of quickly. It's all connected. And things get better as these things get better. So if you have great programs that are really doing lots of good for your parishes and communities and the people around you and your members, that makes recruiting very easy because people see the great things you're doing. They then join the Knights of Columbus and are admitted. And then once they're admitted, if you hold their hand for a couple months and you get them really active in programs and you help them to know the rest of the people and they start feeling comfortable, they're going to get active in programs. And then the more active they are and the more happy they are in those programs and the things they do, the easier they are to retain. And once your council is such that everybody's active or a lot of people are active and they're easy to retain, they're going to want to do more. And then you can do more great programs. So that all kind of goes in a big circle, but everything kind of grows on each other. Now, I talked about this earlier. Membership is a team effort. Don't try to go this alone. Get yourself some recruiters. Find yourself 5 or 10 members that are going to assist you in recruiting throughout the year. They don't all have to do everything all the time, but find 5 or 10 guys who are willing to periodically throughout the year, maybe 3 or 4 times a piece, help you at different activities. Then you've got your what I call power recruiters, which are great people, make it really easy to recruit. One is your field agent, Knights of Columbus field agent. Those guys are experts at recruiting new members. They know a lot about the Knights of Columbus. In their roles, they already have good personalities for just introducing themselves to people they don't necessarily know. And they're good salesmen and those sorts of things. So those people make great recruiters. Your pastor and priests. I know a lot of churches where if the pastor says, hey, everybody in church that's a member of the Knights of Columbus stand up, and they all stand up and then sit down and they says, show me all the men who are not members of the Knights of Columbus. Please stand up. They stand up. Say at the end of church, go see these other guys and sign up. I want you to sign up because it's a great organization. Pastor's influence is tremendous, and they can help you recruit. But it's always important to make sure that they think that you're a good counsel as well. So you have to win them over, and the more you win them over, the better job they're going to do recruiting for you. Talk to your district deputies, your diocesan membership directors, past Grand Knights, your state recruiting team. This year, the state's going to have in each diocese a recruiting team that is a lot of good guys that are really good at recruiting that you can bring into your council to help you recruit in your council in your parish for a weekend now and then. So all these people are great people that can help you do some recruiting and bring those people in. Then have yourself an admissions committee. I don't want to make this too formal, but what these people do is it's a subset of people, including yourself, maybe the Grand Knight, and probably the program director, because you want to talk about programs where you'll get these people in, you educate them and vet them on here's what the Knights of Columbus do, here's how we work. You can listen to their stories about themselves, how long they've been in the parish, and those sorts of things. Get them to and through the charity, unity, and fraternity exemplification. And once they then start coming to meetings, get them active in different programs and maybe assign a mentor to work with them for a couple months and get them engaged and go through those admission and activities that need to be done. But don't try to do this all by yourself. You'll burn out very, very quickly. So here's what I call the top 5 recruiting strategies. We're going to go through these one at a time on the following pages. So stay with me as we go through these. Number 1, church drives or Delta drives. There's quite a few pages on here. So how to do this really requires 3 things. You need people. You need a team of people that are going to run the drive. That's why I ask you to get yourself a group of people to help you out. Get those district deputies and state membership team and your pastor to help you and all those other sorts of things. there's a process, and you'll see that in the following few pages on what the process is to run a Delta Drive. And then for all the process you get through, they either join as an online member, or they become a council member, or they don't do either, but you keep tabs on them so you can follow up on them later and maybe talk them into becoming members in another 6 months or a year or whatever. So don't lose track of those prospects. For the people, your council membership director is the organizer. You need to get your pastor involved because you need his approval to do the Delta Drive, and hopefully he'll participate and help you out as well. Then there's a group of people we call ambassadors, which is really your helpers that are going to greet people at the door, invite them to become members, help them gather their information, and those sorts of things. They all need to be pretty outgoing people and very friendly people, and those sorts of things. Families are great people. Nice family members should be visible. I think we are a family organization, and having people see we're a family organization is important. Have a pulpit speaker, someone who is compelling and is a good role model. So if you're trying to recruit younger people, you don't want somebody who's 95 years old and has been a knight for 63 years to be the one standing up at the pulpit trying to do the recruiting. You want somebody who is a young professional, is a good role model, has a family, brings his family to church with him, and that. So try to find someone that's both compelling and a role model. And then have your power recruiters there, your district deputy or field agents, the state diocesan help, and whatever. The more that you have, the better it's going to run. The process, 5-step process. So you got a plan. Prepare is kind of like last minute planning. Practice it to make sure you're ready. Implement, which means do it, and then welcome people at the end when you're done. So planning. First thing you got to do is get your pastor's approval. You want to have a Delta Drive on May 23rd at all the masses that weekend. Is that okay with him? Well, we got something else going on that weekend. Can we do it this other weekend? So pick something that works out for him. See how he wants to be engaged. Talk to him about the pulpit announcement, who's going to do it, make sure he's comfortable with what's the sorts of things that are going to be said. Maybe he wants to do the pulpit announcement, which is not a bad idea. If your pastor helps sell this, I think that helps you get more members. So consider that. Have some sort of projections on how many people are going to attend Mass, because you'll need to know how many people might need to be recruited and how many prayer cards to order and those sorts of things. So have those for each of the masses. And then set some goals, some realistic goals that says, I think I might get 2 people or 10 people or 20 people or whatever you think is realistic. But I have a goal. And some of this could be based on, well, I did a Delta Drive last year and we got 8 people. And it was our first one. We made a few mistakes. So maybe this year, since we're going to fix these mistakes we made last time, instead of 8, maybe we can get 12. So whatever. Dates, have those dates. Start putting out the bulletin announcements about 2 to 3 weeks prior to the weekend you're going to do it. Then you got the Delta Drive weekend. You invite the prospects to a charitable function so that they can come and actually see the Knights of Columbus in action. And then you have your exemplification, the charity, unity, and fraternity exemplification. Offer a raffle prize. It's a great way to get people to give you their names and phone numbers and email addresses. Commit to that. Buy something, whether it's a dinner out for 2 at a restaurant, Olive Garden, or whatever you want to choose, and commit that and select what that Delta Drive is. So I have this stuff all kind of planned out. Prepare for it. Prospect landing page. I got another page on the next page that tells you how to set that up. And I think the membership director should be the person doing it. Order your Delta Church Drive kits. And again, you'll need to know how many people you expect so you can hand out prayer cards and those sorts of things. Place the prospect cards, pencils in the pews. order new member kits. So you've got rosaries and pins and those sorts of things for your exemplifications. Submit your bulletin announcements in whatever time frame is needed to get in your bulletin, so that they're in there 2 to 3 weeks at a time. Build your ambassador team. Have those people that are going to become your ambassadors to talk to people before and or after Mass to get them to join, and talk about what their attire is. I know in the old days, we all used to try to dress up in suits and look really nice, but today's young people, very few people wear suits to church, and so you're probably not going to attract very many young people if you all show up wearing a coat and tie. But if you all wear your Knights of Columbus shirts to church, and you all have khakis on with your Knights of Columbus shirt, it's a little less formal, a little more casual, but yet still looks nice. But agree on what your attire is and have everybody wearing similar attire. And then edit your pulpit announcement and agree on who the speakers are. So you have your pulpit announcement, you run it past your pastor to make sure he's okay with it. You agree on who the speaker or speakers are. Maybe at the 8 o'clock Mass, the Grand Knight does it. Maybe at the 10:30 Mass, the pastor does it. And maybe at the 12 o'clock Mass, you'll have the membership director do it. But, agree on those things so you have that all kind of figured out ahead of time. And then here's how you build your landing page. You go to this www.kfc.org/page request and fill in the blanks. Here's my council number. Here's my email address, what state I'm in, and you click submit, and they'll then create a landing page for you for the Delta Drive. Now you only need to do this once per council, because then you can continue to use the same landing page for future Delta Drives, however often you do it. And then practice. Have the speaker practice their pulpit announcement to make sure that it comes off well. It doesn't take too long. I'm sure if you're doing this at church, if Father gave you 5 minutes time to do this, and you walk through your pulpit announcement and it takes you 15 minutes to get through it, well, something's wrong there. You need to shorten it or whatever. So make sure you practice it to have it right. Cover with your ambassadors the do's and don'ts. Do interact with people, engage them, those sorts of things. Don'ts include things like don't ask them to fill out the landing page information. Have them give it to you, and you do it on your phone. Don't stand around and just talk to the other ambassadors, because if you're in a dialogue with 2 or 3 ambassadors together and someone else wants to talk to you and they see you're engaged in a conversation, they're going to feel like they're going to bother you by interrupting you. And so that's the last thing you want to do. Make sure that they see you there, ready, willing, and able to talk to them. And the whole purpose you're there is to talk to them. And then make sure that it's the ambassadors that are using the landing page to capture people's information. Okay. Step 4 is implement. So you arrive early the day you're going to do it. Have the ambassadors assigned to, I need 3 of you at this door and 2 of you at that door, and here's where we're going to be. Speak with the celebrant. It may or may not be the pastor, but make sure that they're aware you're going to do this announcement, and make sure everybody's aligned so that it all goes smoothly. Have the pulpit speaker practice again, just to make sure that they know it. Have prospect cards and pens and why join pamphlets in the pews, so that as people come in, they can read those at their leisure before Mass. And then when you're doing your pulpit announcement, they can pick them up and start filling them out. And then test the prospect landing page just to make sure it works on everybody's phone, so that for all your ambassadors, it's there and working. And then remind the ambassadors to enter their info on the landing page for each of the prospects that they talk to, because that's how we're going to get back with them. And then after all the masses are done, you wrap up by taking all the excess material out of the pews, so you don't leave a mess for your church. And thank the pastor for helping out and participating and giving you this opportunity. So after that's all done, you then welcome people by, it will automatically send out an email to announce who the raffle winner is. All the prospects and families you should invite to a charitable event for them to see the Knights of Columbus in action. And then as those prospects show up, you assign mentors to each of them to talk to them, dialogue, answer their questions, and then encourage them to join either online or as a member of your council. I think I have too many pages in here. Have I done the prospect piece yet? Nope. Okay. So as you're working with each of the prospects, as I said earlier, there's, hopefully you can get them to at least be an online member. So get the prospects to sign up on the spot. It's really the best way, because then they are already a member of the Knights. They may not be a member of your council, but they've made that first commitment. And then whether or not they sign up on the spot, have them consider becoming a council member. Get the prospects to agree to come to an exemplification if you can. Get them to a charitable event. Make them feel comfortable, and have them become a member of your council. And then if you can't get either one or two, don't forget those people. Keep the information and periodically re-invite them. Okay. The next way to get new members is through your council programs. When you have a council program, invite non-members to your council program. They see the great things your council's doing, have sign-up sheets there, have material there, recruiting material, advertise to all the non-members. And then at those events, you not only have program volunteers that run the program, but you should have recruiting volunteers that go around the room and work the crowd and get them engaged. So a good example of that would be at a church picnic in the summer. Is you got Knights of Columbus, they're going to flip the hamburgers and hot dogs and run the beer tent and all those other sorts of things, which is a good thing to do. And the program director needs to have volunteers to do all those things. But you should also, as a membership director, have a couple people walking around whose job is totally to do recruiting. And maybe part of what they do is they just go get in line to get a hot dog. And while they're standing in line, they strike up a conversation with the people either in front of them or behind them in line about, yeah, it's a nice day today. How many years you've been coming to the church picnic? 5 years. Oh, okay. How about you? I see you're a member of the Knights of Columbus. What do they do? Oh, well, we do a lot of things for the parish. See the guys in the beer tent, running the beer tent. Those are Knights of Columbus. See the guys that are cooking the hot dogs and flipping the hamburgers. Those are Knights of Columbus. We just do a lot of things for the church and in our community. And we raised, last year we raised $15,000 and gave it to a bunch of different organizations. And if you're interested, I could get you an application. Maybe you're consider joining. And by the time you get up to the front of the line to get your hot dog or hamburger, you got a new member. So it's real good if you just have people there to work the crowd. The next key area is these RCIA candidates. These are all the men who are considering joining the Catholic Church. So you can't recruit them before they're members because they're not really members. It's a requirement to be a Catholic to be in the Knights of Columbus. But you can prepare by maybe having some people in your council assist with the RCIA program in your parish, or become a sponsor of a candidate. Maybe you do things like you agree to have your council provide rosaries and or Bibles to all the candidates that are in RCA, not just men, but also women and even children who are in that program. So help everybody. Maybe be a guest speaker at one of the RCIA sessions that they go to and tell them about the Knights. And then, get prospects, get their names, get their phone numbers and email addresses. And then when they become Christians or Catholics, reach out to them and say, shoot, now that you're a member of the Catholic Church, we'd love you to also be a member of the Knights of Columbus. And I find a lot of councils do really well at recruiting when they focus on RCIA candidates. Friends and family, I already kind of talked about this earlier on. Maybe even just pick a month where you emphasize Friends and Family Month and talk to your whole parish or your whole council and say, can you try to get men to join? There's a pamphlet called "Ask Yourself First," which is a good way to just ask yourself, why did you become a knight? And then it gives you information on how to talk about that with other people, and pass out prospect cards and even recruiting material, and then have everybody in your council go home over the next month and talk to their friends and talk to their family, and maybe you ask each of them to try to at least find one or two prospects, and then of those one or two prospects per council member, you can maybe get 10% of them to join and get a lot of people to join your council. So it's a great activity. And again, if you focus that for a particular month in the year and have everybody try to do it, then it's a good thing to do. Nearby parishes and schools. Maybe your current parish is kind of tapped out and you've already asked every man in the parish 27 times and you're not going to get many more of them to join. But maybe there's a Catholic church right on down the road that doesn't have a council. Go talk to their pastor and ask for permission to hold a church drive or a Delta drive and do one there. Do one at colleges. It's best to do them at Catholic colleges, but also have them at other colleges where you can get permission to maybe set up a display, have some information, have a night where maybe you can be in the auditorium and hold a drive to tell people about the Knights of Columbus. And it's a great place where they can volunteer to do some charitable works, which again, I think every college student wants to do that sort of thing so it can go on their resume, and get them engaged, get them involved, and then hook them and get them to join the Knights. So it's a great way to get some people to join. Here's some look at things from the prospect's point of view. And if you take a look at this down the left-hand side, it spells out recruit, but basically they want you to reach out to them, reach out to me. Don't make me take the first step to reach out to you. Engage me as a friend. Don't look at me as a sales opportunity. I want you to try to be a friend of mine. And if I join, I'm going to have friends of the Knights of Columbus. So make sure that they see that and feel that when they talk to you. Communicate with me early and often. I want to know about the Knights, and I don't want you to get my name and phone number and then not hear from you for 3 weeks or a month, because it makes me feel like you're really not that interested in me. So communicate with me early and often. Relate to my perspective. When I tell you I don't have much time here, or here's what my family situation is, and whatever, you need to listen and then talk to them in terms of how the Knights of Columbus is going to be beneficial to them from their perspective. So I think that's very important. Understand my availability and offer choices. So some people that travel for business and may not be around very much, or are going away to college and won't be home at the home council very often, maybe they should then, that's the sorts of people who might be better suited to just be an online member and not necessarily very active in a particular council. But they can participate in council activities when it's available for them. So I think there's options there that you can offer to people based on their availability, and give them some choices. And then include my family and yours. This is a family organization. You need to make sure that they know we're not just asking them to join. We want their spouse and their children and fathers and mothers to also feel like they're parts of the Knights and can come to our activities and have fun with the rest of us. And then thank me regularly and ask me to invite a friend. So thank them for their interest and have them invite other friends. So, one of the things I think people struggle with when they're joining the Knights is, I'm going to join this organization and I don't know anybody and I don't have any friends, and I'm going to feel left out there early. But if I can invite my best friend and the two of us join together, then we're not alone. We're there together, and we can both flip pancakes at the pancake breakfast, or we both can stand on the same street corner for the Tootsie Roll drive, or we both can can be on the same foursome at the Knights of Columbus golf outing. And then I know somebody already, and it makes it a lot easier for me to join and not feel left out. So think about those sorts of things. All right, now we're done with recruiting. We're into admissions. What are the admissions activities? You got to educate and vet people. You got to make sure it's a good fit. And we have to be a little careful with vetting because I've seen two things happen, neither of which is good. People sometimes just think, hey, if I get a warm body and get them to join, then I can check the box that I've got a new member. And that's a little too loose. You got to make sure that there's a good fit, and they're going to be interested in the Knights of Columbus, and they're going to be active. And so I think you got to do a certain amount of making sure that the person's a good fit for the Knights. And on the other hand, I've seen places where people say, well, he's not really a good enough Catholic, so I don't want him to join because it would reflect bad. And I think that there's some that's not a good approach either, because none of us are perfect. And the Knights of Columbus is here to help us all to become better people. So just because they don't go to church every Sunday, and maybe they only go on Christmas and Easter, and maybe they're divorced, and maybe something else is wrong. I mean, I don't know what the deal is. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a bad night. Get them to join. Get them engaged. Get them involved in programs. Some of the programs we do are church related. If you get them to join, they'll become better people. Their mistakes will become less. Their relationships with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ are going to become better, and you're helping people to be better. So I think we need to welcome almost anybody into the Knights of Columbus, so keep that in mind as you're educating and vetting people. Admit them, get them to join either as an e-member, which you can join right now on the spot, or invite them to an exemplification, and then they can become a member of your council. Meet the guys, welcome them in, and then get them active. So I already covered this. I'll be really quickly. Two-way interview, tell them what we do, requirements and interests. But the prospect also has some questions about who the Knights of Columbus are and that. But we need to ask them to do things. So I would just make sure it's a two-way conversation. The proposer's tasks, time and place. Here's when the exemplification is, date and time. Can you make it? Can you not make it? Bring the required items, which is the pin and rosary. I think these men they call knights is from the past. I'm not sure that's there now we have the new exemplification. I'll have to double check on that. I probably should have taken that out of this presentation. Apologize for that. And then get them to join, either going through the exemplification or becoming an e-member, or both. And then invite them to council meetings within the next meeting and try to get them engaged and active as quickly as possible. The welcoming roles, the proposer should do introductions. So when they come to a council meeting, take them around, introduce them to the guys, sit with them during the meeting. Anything that comes up that needs an explanation, be saying, hey, I know they just said the MI drive. Let me tell you what the MI drive is, and those sorts of things. Get them engaged in activities when at the meeting, when they talk about, we got this going on and that going on, this other thing going on. Maybe you lean over and say, hey, I was going to sign up for this activity. Do you mind signing up with me? And because I could use somebody to help me flip the pancakes at the pancake breakfast and, whatever. So you could help him with that, but encourage him to sign up, and maybe even encourage him to sign up with you so he doesn't feel like he's alone. But the rest of the council also has the roles and responsibilities. The program director needs to meet him and find out what kind of activities he likes and get him a copy of the book Into the Breach. And the Grand Knight should welcome him. So at the meetings, he should say, we have a new member here tonight. His name is Joe. And Joe, could you stand up and tell us a little bit about yourself. And we're glad to have you here, and maybe give them a round of applause, make them feel welcome. And then after the meeting, have everyone walk over and introduce themselves, shake his hand. Although in times of coronavirus, we're all staying away from that, but make them feel welcome and appreciated. But that's important to do. Talk about the Shining Armor Award. This is was a great thing and is a great thing, but it's kind of gone to the wayside. But basically what this award is it's for new members. And if a new member attends 3 business meetings, is involved in 3 council activities, has met with a field agent, whether or not he signs up for anything, and recruits another member, he can win this Shining Armor Award. And it's a great way to get new members, try to get the guy more involved in the council by going to business meetings and council projects, council activities. And so it's just really a nice thing to do to try to engage them and get them involved. Our goal should be to make sure that every new member has the opportunity, if he wishes, to do these things to earn this Shining Armor Award. But we tend to just leave this by the wayside. So I think you should engage a mentor to work with each person, focus on these activities, and get them to earn the Shining Armor Award if you can. Give them a copy of the Into the Breach book. It's a great book for brand new members. Okay, resources. You're not going to remember everything I covered here today, but here's places to look for things. Out on the Supreme website, you'll see a membership recruitment manual number 10237. That's there to give you a bunch of information. Your Grand Knight should have received a leadership guide at the diocesan meeting in July. Get a copy of that from him, and it's got a lot of information about membership recruiting in there that would be very valuable for you to have. The Supreme website and state website has lots of information, like this training program is going to be out there for you as well to look at. Both the presentation and the video are there. Council officers and past Grand Knights know a lot about membership recruiting, so talk to them. Your district deputy should be in the state leadership team. We're all there to help you. We want your councils to grow, and if you need help, I think all you got to do is ask, and people will be there to support you any way that you need it. So what did we cover? We gave you an overview of both recruiting and admissions. We talked about the top 5 ways to recruit. We covered in admissions that there's an orientation, the exemplification, and transition to become an active knight. And then under resources, we covered what materials out there for you, who to talk to, district deputy, Grand Knight, etc. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Good luck in your role, and don't hesitate to reach out and ask people for help. Thank you all for coming in.